Alright, so Apple just held WWDC 2026, the biggest software event of the year, and there's a lot to unpack. We've got the new Siri, that's actually supposed to be good this time around, a new iOS, a new macOS, and the end of an era. Oh, and Google is technically running your phone now. Kind of, we'll get to that. I'm going to break down everything that was announced, what actually matters, and what you should actually be excited or not excited about. Let's get into it. So before we get into all the software stuff, we have to talk about Tim Cook. This was his last WWDC as CEO of Apple. He announced a few months back that he's stepping down September 1st, handing the reins down to John Ternus, the guy who heads up Apple's hardware engineering. And honestly, the ending of the keynote was genuinely really moving. Cook thanked developers, talked about his time at Apple, and said he believes the best is still ahead. He actually got a bit emotional, which if you've watched Tim Cook keynotes for years, is not something you see every day. So say what you want about the guy, 25 years at Apple, most of that as CEO, that's a whole era. iPhone, AirPods, Apple Silicon, Apple Watch, all happened on his watch. End of one chapter, start of another. So software, let's get into that. So the structure of this keynote was pretty clear from the jump. Craig Federighi laid it out, 3 areas of focus: platform improvements, trust and safety, and Apple Intelligence with Siri. No new hardware, no new iPhone, no new Mac, no new iPad, pure software showcase. And honestly, that was the right call, because Apple really did have something to prove this year. So let's talk about the big one, Siri. If you remember back at WWDC 2024, Apple promised a completely revamped context-aware, actual useful AI version of Siri. And then, it kind of just didn't show up. Features got delayed, the big personal context stuff got pulled back, they ran ads about it with Bella Ramsey, and then those ads quietly disappeared. It was rough. So Dub 2026 is Apple's answer to all of that. They've rebuilt Siri basically from the ground up, and this version, which they're calling Siri AI, is genuinely a different product to which we've had before. It's conversational, it's context aware, it can see what's on your screen, it knows what's in your emails, your photos, your calendar, your files. It can actually do all... It could actually do things with that information across apps. There's now a standalone Siri app that looks and works basically like ChatGPT or Gemini. You can type or talk, attach documents and images, and have a back and forth conversation. Your chat history syncs across your iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, and Vision Pro. They demoed some genuinely impressive stuff, pulling up the FIFA World Cup schedule and asking Siri to help plan a watch party, including food recommendations from competing countries, all within one conversation. No handing it off to a web browser, no here's what I found on the web, actual answers. Now here's the part that raised some eyebrows. The thing powering all of this is Google Gemini, specifically a custom 1.2 trillion parameter Gemini model that Apple is reportedly paying around $1 billion a year to use. Google's cloud CEO actually confirmed this publicly, which is a thing. Apple has spent years and years selling privacy and keeping everything in-house at its core identity. And now, Google is the engine under the hood of the AI assistant. So Apple says your data is still handled with privacy in mind and deleted after requests are processed. And the on-device stuff still runs on Apple's own models. But the cloud-powered features, that's Gemini. There's a note that Siri AI won't be available in the EU at launch because of the Custom Markers Act. And it's not coming to China either due to regulations there. So depending on where you are, your experience will vary. But for everyone else, this is a Siri that was promised 2 years ago, and from what was shown on stage, it actually really looks like it delivers. Okay, so iOS 27, what's actually new for your iPhone? The headline is obviously Siri AI, which we covered, but beyond that, iOS 27 is more of a refinement update than a dramatic overhaul. The liquid glass design, which launched last year, which a lot of people had feelings about, is getting a tune-up. Apple says they've addressed feedback and they've added a transparency slider, so you can actually control how intense the liquid glass is. So you can go full frosted, go full clear, dial it in yourself. That's a really nice touch. Speed and performance are apparently improved across the board. Apple says everything feels faster and smoother. We'll see if that holds up in real world use when it actually ships. Feature-wise, Messages is getting an AI-powered smart reply suggestions. Siri gets AI tab management and article summaries. The phone app can now pull in context from your mail and messages mid-call, which can actually be super useful. There's one-tap password updating, which sounds super smart and will genuinely save a lot of time. Apple Maps is getting an upgraded flyover mode with richer aerial imagery. And randomly, iCloud shared albums are finally coming to Android and Windows, which if you've tried to share a photo album with someone who doesn't have an iPhone, you know why it matters. Oh, and AirPods are getting a custom EQ, finally. One thing to be aware of, iOS 27 will probably be the last update for the iPhone 11. So if you're rocking an 11, this might be your last OS update cycle. Something to keep in mind. So the developer betas have been live for a couple of weeks now, and the public betas are set to be here in July. And the full release is expected in September. So on the Mac side, the new macOS is called Golden Gate, macOS 27, and the big news here is that Intel is officially done. macOS Golden Gate is Apple Silicon only. If you're here on an Intel Mac, this is your last update. The Mac App Store also confirmed that developers will no longer be required to submit Intel-compatible versions of their app. The Intel era is over, and it was a good run for the Mac. Golden Gate brings a cleaner, more consistent visual design, toolbars and sidebars that extend all the way to the screen edges, a tighter and more uniform corner radius across all windows, and liquid glass applied directly to app icons. They've also added the same system-wide liquid glass intensity slider that's coming to iOS, so you can tune the transparency level to your taste. Search has been rebuilt across photos, spotlights, and mail. Apple says it now indexes context more instantly rather than having a delay. If that's accurate, it's actually a meaningful quality of life improvement. And of course, the full Siri AI experience comes to Mac as well, including the ability to right-click on images, text, or video to pull up Siri directly. So, everything else. Parental controls got a significant expansion under screen time. Parents can now control which specific apps kids have access to, which websites they can visit, and Apple makes smart suggestions for how those restrictions can evolve over time. Good addition. tvOS 27 is coming to Apple TV, though it didn't get a big moment in the keynote. More details will likely come through the developer sessions this week. visionOS is also updating, though the Vision Pro update is lighter, mostly getting the same Siri AI and Apple Intelligence improvements as other platforms. So overall, this was a good WWDC. Not flashy, no surprise hardware, but Apple did what they needed to do. They finally delivered on the AI promises they made back in 2024. They refined the design language, they closed out the Intel era on Mac, and they gave us a version of Siri that actually deserves to be in the same conversation as the competition. The Gemini thing will rub some people the wrong way, and it should at least make you think about what Apple's privacy promise actually means going forward. But from a pure user experience standpoint, if Siri AI ships the way it was demoed, it's a real upgrade. Everything lands in September. Developer betas have been live for a little while, if you want to jump in early. I'm going to do a bunch more videos, probably breaking down more of all of this, a deep dive on Siri AI, the full iOS 27 feature list, macOS Golden Gate, just all of it, maybe. So subscribe if you don't want to miss those, and thank you for watching.